Okay, so last night Clay and I watched Monsters vs. Aliens, so just another notch in our DreamWorks belt. This is a movie I had seen before, and I remember really not liking it, not thinking it was very funny, thinking it was a little interesting, like with what they were trying to do with the main character. She's a normal human, she gets hit by a meteor, a massive fucking meteor, and then gets superpowers from the, what is it called, like quantonium, that's their bullshit, whatever the fuck that gives people powers, and then she ends up becoming a giant woman, which, insert Steven Universe joke here. And she ends up getting taken to a facility where they keep all the monsters, but she's like, no, I'm just a normal person. I'm huge now, but I'm a normal person. I want to go back to my life. I was about to get married. I want to go spend my life with my fiance, with my family. What is all this shit? Then an alien shows up, wants to take the quantonium from her and use it to conquer the world and conquer the galaxy and all that shit. And yeah, it's like, all right, we got to go use the monsters to fight the aliens because, that's the title of the movie. Rewatching it, it's fine. There are definitely, okay, so like there's a part where the monsters first get outside and Bob, the Seth Rogen character, who of course does the Seth Rogen a couple times, which I don't mind. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. It can kind of work. They're like, man, it's really nice. I haven't been out here in a long time. And then Will Arnett's character, who I can't hear Will Arnett without thinking of either Job or BoJack. It's really distracting to me. He's like, man, it's really warm. I don't remember the weather being like this. Has the earth been getting warmer? That'd be a really convenient truth to know. And it's like, oh, I hated that. I really hated that joke. No. And I felt like there weren't a lot of jokes like that made me just go, really? But I can remember a couple funny ones when they're talking to the President of the United States, voiced by Stephen Colbert. And they're like, Mr. President, nukes aren't an option. And he just says, sure they are. All I gotta do is push this button. He just very casually almost hits the red button. Like, that's a pretty funny joke. I really like, so Galaxhar is the name of our antagonist, voiced by Rainn Wilson. I was like, what? It's like, he sounds so familiar. Is he also Stephen Colbert doing a voice? And Clay looked at him and was like, oh, it's because it's Dwight from The Office. That explains it. That explains it a lot. He's actually pretty funny. So there's a scene where he's giving his backstory, but he's also going through a cloning machine. So he does a setup for something, and right before he reveals the crazy shit that happened, he goes down into the machine and comes back up and it's like, yeah, so no child should ever have to go through that. But then it's like, I met this wonderful woman, and then and then after that, that's really funny. I like that joke a lot. I think the side characters, I think, are fine. They're, for the most part, they're likable. I think Link is okay. But, yeah, I think Bob he has some jokes I think are pretty funny. You're like, Bob, you gotta get the people off the bridge. Okay. So he's just about to throw their car off the bridge. Like, no, you idiot. I need you to do this. Oh, okay. Some of those jokes are funny. Some of them I just did not think were very funny. Dr. Cockroach is actually a pretty likable dude. The humans, with the exception of Susan, all the other, and I guess, General Monger, which his name is W.R. Monger, I'm like, okay, that's pretty funny. I don't like how they look. It's like every time they try to do a joke with the president, I think, some of them, it just isn't that funny. Some of them, I want to laugh at this joke, but every time I look at his bulbous Mr. Peanut-shaped head, I can't laugh because I'm just kind of disgusted by the proportions. And I remember Clay was like, why are you being grossed out? It's just Stephen Colbert. I'm like, but it's just DreamWorks humans. I feel like we're about to get to the point where they don't start looking terrible because the next movie is How to Train Your Dragon. And they look fine in the Shrek movies, but I think that's because Shrek just has its own, unique style. But, for example, in... I'm not remember. Over the Hedge, that was it. These people looked gross as hell in Over the Hedge. I hated looking at people when they were on screen. This movie is very similar. Now, you could argue, it's like, well, Derek, he's a douchebag. He gets this... like Susan finally goes back to him and is like, hey, shit's kind of crazy right now. I'm now like 100 feet tall or whatever. I don't think they ever give a specific number. We'll just say 100. Like, I'm 100 feet tall, but I still love you. We can try to make this work. He's like, no. This is a you problem, not a me problem. And since we didn't get married, that also doesn't make it a we problem. You're like, wow, what a dick. And then at the end of the movie, after she saved the world, he's like, Susan, I've been thinking about what I said, what happened, what we talked about the other night, and I forgive you. I remember Clay just stopped the movie. It was just like, ooh, like, I hope she just crushes this man. It's like, yeah, like, it makes sense that he looks very punchable because he's a very punchable character, but I think the president looks gross. I think their families look gross. And I just don't like looking at you. Susan's okay. And then, like, the back half of the movie, she's in this, like, really tight outfit. I'm like, oh no, she's hot. But I also have to say, I can't take her seriously with the name Susan. And there's nothing inherently wrong with the name Susan. But a few years ago, I watched Watamote with Clay, which is a very cringy show, and I mean in the best possible way. I absolutely loved it. And I ended up writing a character that was heavily inspired by Tomoko, and her name is Susan, and she talks like this. She's just really creepy and weird and grody. Like, she's a very gross character. And Susan has somehow found her way now into, like, everything I write, as sometimes she's more of a minor character, sometimes she could actually be pretty important. But so it's just the name Susan. I'm like, this is all I can think about every time they say her name. And I just can't, it's just so distracting. Like, now I'm just imagining if Susan was a giant person. And just, like, some of the, like, there's a part when, like, the monsters first meet, like, hey, what's her name? And she's like, my name is Susan. And then my brain is immediately just goes full Susan. I'm like, someone hasn't asked me my name in years. It's like, I can't turn it off. So, that is not the movie's problem at all. It's like, that's not a you problem, that's a me problem. But since I'm the audience, that's now a we problem. But overall, I liked it. I did not love it. This is a movie, it's like, did I love it? No. Did I really like it? No. But I would say I liked it. I think Susan's, character arc is solid. I think her supporting cast is solid. I think the antagonist is funny. It's not a great DreamWorks movie by any means, but neither was the last one. I'm really looking forward to the next one. I remember when it came out, I was like, all right, this looks okay. I'm probably not going to go see it, but it looks fine. And then the word of mouth for How to Train Your Dragon was fantastic. Everyone was saying, it's like, no, all right, go see this. It's kind of like with Puss in Boots 2, where everyone was just like, no, this movie is great. Go watch it. You'll have a great time. And I did. I was like, shit, I really did have a good time. I've seen 2. I remember really liking 2. I still haven't seen 3. I really want to. I'm looking forward to it a lot. But who knows? Maybe I'll rewatch it and be like, this movie isn't as good as I remember it being. It's actually pretty okay, pretty cliche, but I am looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes.